Alright, so here I'm going to be explaining something called top-down programming. And it's not really a programming concept per se as opposed to a programming style. But it's a style that's used to approach problems to make them easier to solve. And it should help on almost every single assignment that you do from here on. So, top-down programming. What is top-down programming? Pretty much the basic idea is that you're going to be using methods a lot. So make sure you have a good knowledge of methods. And I talked about methods in a previous video, so you should go check that out. But pretty much, methods are used to take a big problem and break it down into a bunch of smaller problems that are easier to solve. Okay, so for example, let's say you need to, this isn't exactly in code or anything, but imagine you had to, say, fix a bike. Now, I mean, maybe you know how to fix a bike, but I personally don't. And I don't know everything about how to fix a bike and so on. It's a pretty big problem for me. So then, how top-down programming, the top-down programming approach is, like I said, take a big problem, right? And break it down into a bunch of smaller problems that might be easier to solve. So maybe here you might want to do something like, I don't know, check wheels. And here it could be something like, I don't know, check pedals. And then this one could be, I don't know, whatever. You could break it down to a lot of smaller steps. And then here, well, I mean, let's say I don't know exactly what I need to check with the wheels. I could break this down into even smaller steps. And I could keep doing this until I get to steps that I know how to solve and are super easy, right? So if I know how to solve this and this, and then, all the easy steps, then I could use the easy steps to solve the bigger step, which then could solve this bigger step, which then solves the entire problem. So that's the basic notion behind top-down programming. So how would we apply that to a problem, right? You might ask. Now, if this eraser would cooperate. Alright, well, it's sort of working. Let's try this. Okay, cool. Alright, so how would we, use this in programming? So, just for an example, I'll use assignment 4 from your guys' homework. And this one, what you had to do is you had to take 2D arrays. Alright, let's get the pen. 2D arrays, right? Where it was like, something like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excuse the handwriting. You had to take 2D arrays. What you have to do is you have to get the average of all of them. All the values. And also the minimum value. And the index at where the minimum value is at. So for example, in this one, the min value is at 0, 0, right? So, if we take the same approach, right? How could we, well, that's the whole idea behind top-down program. How could we think of how to break this down, okay? Well, in the initial problem, the original assignment, you actually had 2 arrays, 2-dimensional arrays, okay? What you had to do is you had to add them to create some resulting 2D array. And with this 2D array, this is the one you had to get the average of. And you had to get the, also had to get the min number index, right? And then we also had to check if these two were compatible. They had to be the same size. So how could we, break this down into a step-by-step process that we could maybe even further break down, kind of like the whole top-down idea that I mentioned earlier? Well, let's think about it. First, we need to create 2 arrays. 2 arrays, right? Oh, I guess in this case 2D arrays, right? 2-dimensional arrays. Next, we need to check compatibility. And 3, we have to do what? Then after we know they're compatible, then we have to sum them. Sum arrays. and after you sum them, then you have some result, right? Now on that result, you could calculate both the average and the minimum, right? So that's the step-by-step process. And the thing about it is, well, I mean, let's say I didn't know how to create 2D arrays, right? Well, what happens when you have something that you don't know how to do? In top-down programming, what you would do is you would break this down even further into a lot of smaller steps. And I'm going to show you how to do that in code. And this general concept you could apply to almost any single computer science problem that you'll probably be tackling in the near future. So it'll help you a lot, I personally think. So in the next video, I'll actually show you how to do it in code, okay? So make sure you keep everything in this video in mind.